Hey guys, we have a week this week that may be sort of like a breath of fresh air in some ways. We have planets entering the sign of Gemini this week that is definitely going to be breaking up some type of stagnation. We are entering a period of time right now that is really going to be characterized by choices, options, decisions, opportunities, a huge influx of information, finding a lot of things out that changes the way that we're thinking about things and the choices and decisions that we are making moving forward. Information is about to be the ruler of the times as we move through this next couple of weeks, actually over the course of the next year as Jupiter transits through the sign of Gemini. But the Sun and Jupiter both entering Gemini this week. This is going to bring a bit of a release or some momentum or some movement to things that may have been stuck, stagnant, very fixed in place, and all this heavy Earth sign Taurian energy. We will get some movement, some motion, and things could just feel like they're opening up in some ways. So we've got a lot to talk about, you guys. Let's get into our report of the day. Look at how things are opening for us this week as we move through the week and actually towards the full moon in Sagittarius that is coming on Thursday. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Monday, May 20th, 2024. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of the report, I have also done a collective tarot reading for us. I like to tap the energy field from more than one modality whenever I'm doing these videos, just to get an additional energetic perspective of what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you at the end. Let's get into the astrology. This week, we have a true fusion going on of both Gemini and Taurus energy. And what that means to me is that there's likely to be a lot of information, chatter, like hustle and bustle, things to do with all of the Taurian themes. Like our mind, all the energy has been totally focused essentially in the Taurian realms over this past couple of weeks, especially after Mercury entered Taurus and we had 5 planets in the sign of Taurus with Jupiter there and the Sun there and Uranus there, of course Venus there also ruling the sign of Taurus. So all of the partnership, financial, project, work, land, food, resource, asset, value, worth, wealth themes, and like it's related also to feminine energy, having to do with the general Taurian archetypes have been the definite highlight over this past couple of weeks. It's been a very, very Taurian Taurus season that we've been moving through. However, big change has been indicated along these lines in these realms as well, with the Uranus Jupiter energy that has been, that specifically is an indication for big change. And now, as we move through the energy of the week this week, we have the Sun first leading the way, entering the sign of Gemini, which of course is the sign that rules change outside of Uranus and Aquarius, which is like this dynamic, like major life changes that like put us back where we're supposed to be, the changes we haven't been able to make for ourselves. Like that's how change is represented through the Aquarian and the Uranian energy. But Gemini, this is a mutable sign. Mutable signs have a lot to do with transition, change, adapting, moving from one state to another, an ability to sort of just like go with the flow of things. And we're talking about the mutable air sign of Gemini, the twins. This also rules polarities and things going back and forth, and it's a very changeable sign. We can go from one side to the other, from one polarity or opposition to the other very quickly. It's has a lot to do with, hot and cold, up and down, yes and no, and things that are similar pairings, but also polarities and oppositions. And so it's a sign that has a lot to do with things changing and rules change as well. And so when we're talking about the Sun entering the sign of Gemini and greater still, Jupiter about to enter the sign of Gemini for the first time in like 12 years. It takes Jupiter approximately, give or take, about 12 years to transit the entire zodiac. And so it's been a minute since this energy was present. And so, we're getting another dose. I think my son was born with Jupiter in Gemini, which was 2013. So 2024 now, that's 11 years, coming up on the 12-year cycle. So we haven't had this energy energy present in a while, but it's back, and Jupiter expands things. Jupiter is also truth. Jupiter is opportunities and blessings. Jupiter is the higher perspective. We have a energy that is characterized by Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, and I'm not going to talk about that in a lot of detail today. I'll have a full report talking all about that when we get there, but there's just likely to be a much greater emphasis on information, what we're learning, and the choices and decisions that we're making as a result, and how that is changing things. So the reason why I brought up the idea of change in the context of us transitioning from this very, very heavy fixed Taurus energy that was also hosting Uranus, talking about priming us for some type of sudden unexpected change that is actually a change in the right direction. Now that we have planets entering the sign of Gemini, which frees us up, which opens things up, which allows the flow, right? Which allows the transition, which allows the movement. And we've got that Jupiterian energy that is moving there like very soon. This is going to, I feel like, really kind of like open the floodgates, so to say, in terms of things that have been preparing to happen, but maybe have not like really gained any momentum, or maybe are still sort of like, or have been like sort of like fixed in their foundation, or just haven't been moving in some way. Now is when I think we're going to begin to see some big time movements start to happen, and like these opportunities really coming in, and a lot of just this influx of information that is causing things to change somehow, especially again in terms of things that have been immovable, or maybe like seemed like nothing was happening for a while. I don't know. So this is going to be a week, one way or another, that is likely to emphasize information, what we're learning and hearing and talking about. But as I said, I feel like this week is like a true fusion of the Gemini Taurus energy, because while we have the sun entering Gemini, while we have Jupiter preparing to enter Gemini, we still have Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, in the like relatively early degrees of the sign of Taurus. So all this influx of information, like everything that is kind of like opening up or coming to us, or that we're figuring out maybe, or even like the options or choices, whatever, everything is still likely to be geared and centered around these strongly Taurian themes, because the ruler of this energy is still in the sign of Taurus. So it's like, maybe things haven't been moving forward because we've been waiting on a piece of like important information or something like that. But like this is when that will come, or you'll get whatever clearance, or you'll get like some type of communication or something that allows things to begin like a process of moving forward and open up and change and facilitate a process of transition or something. But we are about to see, I do think, movement, flexibility, and transition, especially in terms of the options and just the general flow of things that's going on. So I feel like this is the dam breaking, and you know, the information or the communication or the thing that we've been waiting on perhaps, or that we didn't know we were waiting on, I don't know, but there should be things happening in a way that allow some type of transition or movement or flow. It feels like taking the lid off of sort of like whatever's been cooking or simmering like under the surface of that pot, and getting an opportunity to like gain all this new insight, maybe all this new information about like what's been really going on under the lid. There's also, that's another dimension of things, because remember, we currently have Pluto retrograding at 2 degrees of the sign of Aquarius right now. So when planets are moving through early fixed signs, they are squaring Pluto. When they are moving through early air signs, they are trining Pluto. Trines facilitate things, you guys. We're gonna figure some stuff out. There is Pluto retrograde. This could be about the self, for one. We could be really uncovering like some like deep things about like our own inner nature that we need to get rid of, purge, purify, heal, transform somehow perhaps. Or we could really figure out, as I said, like what's been going on under the lid, like what's been going on under the surface of things, like the Taurus earth element energy. This makes me think of like unearthing some things maybe from the past that had in some way been blocking us or keeping us stuck from being able to like truly move forward somehow. But it looks like, you know, whatever new like influx of information is hitting us somehow, or we're picking up on, or we're gathering, or the meetings, like very important meetings could go on, encounters, conversations, just coming across a random piece of information, or again, some type of like epiphany, or just like flash of insight, or like instantaneous download or something that comes to you, and you're just like have that like aha moment. It's like light bulb moments also that have some type of like impact in the way that we're thinking about things moving forward somehow. But again, this information or this communication, it's going to change the progress that we've been making or that we've been experiencing moving forward. This is highlighted, I feel like, in the energy right now. Also, as I mentioned briefly earlier, when we're talking about the sign of Gemini that is gaining the emphasis right now, this does represent partners, this does represent pairs, like the twins, right? Like things and people and situations that are a true match for each other, but it rules polarities. Did you know Mercury is also, like in astronomy, like the actual planet Mercury has one side of it that's like insanely hot, the side closer to the sun, but another side of it that is like frigid cold because there's no atmosphere there, and so it doesn't hold in the heat. And so I found that to be interesting as well. Like even the actual makeup of the planet Mercury itself is of a dual nature. One side very hot, one side very cold, and polarity is super intertwined in the way that this energy operates. There's the twins and the match, but there's also the radical, like exactly opposing polarization. So we are likely to see over this next couple of months, and in the context, again, everything is right now, all the Gemini flow, all the Gemini vibes, everything that's opening up, the information, what we're learning, we're talking about, it is likely to be very centered around, as I said, these Taurian themes still. So it's like things are opening up, and we are gaining a higher perspective, or we're gaining some insight, or we're like gaining an opportunity or additional options or something, but it's still pertaining to whatever those things were that we were so heavily like enmeshed with, or just like grounded in during the very, very strong permeating Taurian energy with the 5 planets in Taurus. And this past Taurus season generally, that we are working our way out of now. So contrast, opposition in viewpoints, in perspectives. We could feel sort of bipolar ourselves, or like maybe torn between one way and another way as we go through this process. But it is also a much lighter, more open-minded energy than the stubborn Taurian energy that really like gets a hold of something and digs its heels in and is very determined along those lines. We're just more likely to be a little more mentally versatile right now. And that's also why we're likely to get more answers, get more options, get more clarity as well. Truth. There's going to be some big like doses of truth in some way that come in over this next couple of weeks. Again, it's probably going to pertain to the Taurian themes, or the changes that have been happening in regards to the Taurian themes. But with Jupiter about to transit the sign of Gemini, there's definitely an expanded mental viewpoint that is going to put a highlight on information, and Jupiter rules truth, Jupiter rules freedom, freeing the mind, opening the mind, what is real and what is not. These are themes that we are looking at moving forward. But again, I don't want to get too into the Jupiter Gemini energy before that video, because there's going to be a lot to say come this weekend when that energy actually takes place. So we'll talk more about it then. But breakthroughs for sure. As I said, you know, Gemini into Taurus, or Taurus into Gemini, this fixed energy giving way to this mutable energy that allows a change and allows a transition, as a result perhaps of maybe some of these shocks or surprises or big changes that have happened in the context of something that we were invested in or committed to or stuck in somehow. This energy is working to open things up and to free us in one way or another, whether it's something that, you know, maybe you've chosen for yourself or not. That's just what this energy does. And we can be sure, you guys, remember, we are in very fated, destined times right now. Things are happening for a reason. We need to maintain the faith. That will become easier, I think, as we move through the coming days. And we do have this Jupiter energy that enters into the mentalized air sign of Gemini. It's going to, I do feel like it's going to like elevate our mind and our thought processes and have us seeing things from generally a more optimistic perspective moving through the course of this year. But breakthroughs, I do feel like are definitely indicated here. Shifting, opening up, and a breath of fresh air after just, again, all of this very, very strong fixed earth sign energy. Now, as I said, on Monday, we do have both luminaries aspecting Pluto. Emotional conflict or resistance could also be coming up or coming through in the context of maybe some of these Gemini-themed things, conversations, interactions, meetings, information that's going on. Maybe something we're learning could be a bit disturbing or, you know, kind of getting us on the deeper emotional levels with the moon in Taurus, right? Squaring Pluto. Again, that is things happening, powerful experience, powerful like emotional inclinations and things going on within us and stuff like that are creating some type of change or transformation to our subconscious mind or our emotional body somehow when we've got the Scorpio moon, this deep energy, right? These deep emotions. This is also a very psychic energy that we have playing out Monday and Tuesday this week with the moon transiting through Scorpio, squaring Pluto, opposing Uranus. Uranus and Pluto can both bring strong psychic tendencies. Pluto in the more true sense of psychic energy, Uranus in the more like prophetic sense of psychic energy, but nonetheless with the moon and in the sign of Scorpio and the Jupiterian energy that is underway as well, like there could be some definite just like flashes of insight, like internal, like an intuitive hunch or something like that we feel really compelled by, that is like, again, the light bulb moment type of thing that could just be coming out of nowhere, where we're just kind of gaining this greater sense of who we are and what we need to do, or even also like being directed or guided to a certain piece of information that assists us in our process somehow. That could be something that's going on as well. I do also think, though, that this energy is going to, I mean, Gemini, this is a very non-committal energy, right? It's very changeable. It's very flighty. It's very mutable. Like, it's not fixed. It's not necessarily like very loyal. Like, it's not determined. This is not energy that like really loves engaging in getting into like big commitments and like big investments of things. Like, it more so likes to sample the whole array of options and then very carefully, after analyzing things from all angles and perspectives, come to some type of very like factually oriented decision or choice or conclusion. Like, all this stuff is very, very Gemini in nature. It doesn't really like settle down that well, you know? So I do feel like now that we've got the sun moving into Gemini, and even more so as Jupiter moves into Gemini, people are going to skew more towards being non-committal and wanting to see alternatives, wanting to see things from like every perspective, every side, before making a deal, before jumping into something very like hot and cold, right? The planet itself, back and forth about things, up and down in terms of things, highs and lows when it comes to especially maybe like purchases or investments or commitments. All of these Taurian themes still very strong, but wanting to try out options first. A lot of people are really going to be wanting to sample things more so than usual moving through this energy. There could also be, of course, some type of intense or deep or powerful revelation that happens in the context maybe of whatever we're sampling, whatever we're trying out, maybe seeing things from a different angle or perspective that really hits us on some type of deep level this week, with the Plutonic energy emphasized as well. Moving into Tuesday, the moon will move through Scorpio, you know, come into opposition with Mercury and Taurus. That is still putting an emphasis on the mercurial energy, and also start moving into opposition with Uranus and Venus and Jupiter in the end of Taurus. So there could be, with the moon opposing, you know, Uranus, Mercury, and the Jupiter energy starting to come through, and the Plutonic forces at play this week, shocking truth or secrets that are somehow like suddenly revealed, awakening to what's been hidden in the shadows on a more collective level, I do think is represented here. We also, interestingly enough, have the position of the sun at 0 degrees of Gemini, that Sabian symbol, which would be the Sabian symbol for one Gemini. We always round up when we read the Sabians. That Sabian symbol is a glass bottom boat, reveals undersea wonders. So the symbolism is bringing it up to undersea. This is the water, obviously. This could be talking about our emotions, right? We do have a Scorpio moon that will be squaring Pluto, that will be opposing Mercury, that will be opposing Uranus as we move through this period of time. So there could be some revelations in the context of our own internal emotional body that's going on. Or, you know, this also makes me think of, we are currently making our way out of even the age of Pisces energy, like historical secrets and stuff like that hold over from this past age that we are emerging out of right now on a more collective level, maybe being discovered and understood as we move through this next year with Jupiter and Gemini in a way that really changes our perspective somehow. So we've got the glass bottom boat revealing undersea wonders, what's been happening under the surface, gaining clarity, seeing into the depths somehow. Also being referenced by the planetary positions and transits themselves. And of course, we are approaching the full moon in Sagittarius. We've talked so much about Jupiter in our report today. Jupiter is also the ruler of Sagittarius, who will be in an exact conjunction with Venus at the very, very end of the sign of Taurus when we have our Sagittarius full moon that is coming up on Thursday. So Jupiter energy, it's always large and in charge, but it's really kind of the highlight running the show this week specifically. I mean, we've got a full Sag moon with Jupiter making exact conjunction to Venus, and then Jupiter will enter Gemini, change signs. So that's a lot of Jupiterian activity. There could be big things happening and going on this week. Of course, we are coming out of a day this past weekend where we had triple conjunctions going on. We had Mars in the North Node, Venus and Uranus, and the Sun in Jupiter. Very lucky, fortunate, blessed energy that we are in right now, but something is being exposed. Something big is being highlighted. Something is going to be brought to our attention, and it is likely to be along information somehow that has to do with maybe what we're committed to, what we're invested in, our changing preferences and desires, and what we want to relate with and stuff like that, what we're building, what we're working on, and, you know, all the Taurus themes, right? Resources, food, projects, partnerships, work dynamics and relationships, land, agriculture, value, worth, wealth, financial markets, economies, art, creation, design, fashion, beauty. All of that type of stuff is where this energy is geared, but we're going to get a lot of truth, valuable information, or opportunities likely to come from whatever this energy is moving us through or moving us towards or bringing up for us. The entire week, we're gaining insight into things that are moving, changing, and opening up regardless of how this is functioning for us on an individual level. If you know where Taurus is in your chart, that will probably give you some ideas as to the area of your life where this movement is likely to be taking place, where these changes are likely to be taking place. But you probably already know, because it's the same place where all the Taurus energy over this past Taurus season has been hitting as well. There's just a more mentalized focus in terms of the information that we have access to essentially about those things moving forward through this week. So a very, very busy week. Gemini is a really busy energy. You know, as I said earlier, hustle and bustle, a lot going on here and there, back and forth and all over the place and everywhere. So expect, you know, an increase in noise and commotion generally. You might notice, just to start this week off, things seem to be happening like kind of fast. And you might also feel like just a little bit more upbeat in terms of maybe like your desire to communicate with other people. You may have felt just kind of like heavy and like you just needed to really focus and really work and like get things done or spend money or, you know, indulge in pleasure. Like you may have been very focused on what you've been building, what you been creating or what you've been indulging in over this past couple of weeks with all this Taurian energy. But now you're probably just going to find yourself a bit more flexible, a bit more open and willing maybe to communicate, to make a call, to send an email, to send a text, looking for answers, looking for options, looking for alternatives to things. And also remember, these powerful meetings, conversations, informations, revelations could be going on as well. Fated times though, you guys, with Mars and the North Node in a conjunction. Have faith. Things that are happening now, like these things are happening in divine timing, in divine alignment for a certain reason. So we got to go with that. Let's get into the tarot now. This was an interesting message that came up. Let's talk about it. The card, I only got one card coming out of the deck today, and it was the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. And then the card on the back of the deck was the Ten of Wands. Now, to me, like right off the bat, this is saying any burdens, any like financial burdens or like relational commitment burdens that have just become too heavy for us at this point in time. There could be, and of course this is not going to apply to everybody, but the things that are too heavy for us that we've involved ourselves with, that we've established, that we've been a part of for a long period of time, that we've been, as I said, invested or committed in for a long period of time, like that could be undergoing a process of coming to an end. If the life that we've built for ourselves in some type of a way is too much, too heavy, and just feels like too great of a burden at this point in time, I do feel like this is talking about, and it makes sense too, because a lot of these foundational things that have defined our reality and defined our world, and like our 3D experience sort of over maybe our entire lifetime, or maybe just an extensive like past period of time, past sort of like chapter of our lives. It's like if they're more of a burden than a joy, that thing is probably like in some way either being realigned, reassessed, or removed somehow. And that could be what the Uranian energy in the sign of Taurus is indicating for you somehow. Like this is definitely talking about changes in reversals in either, I'm sorry about whatever that motor is out there, financial or commitment or even familial, or like the foundations that we've built or what we've invested in or what we've been committed in. If it's too heavy, or if we have just like, we get nothing out of it other than, you know, the weight that it is for us to carry on our back, like there could definitely be something about that is coming to an end. Other cards that we had coming out under that I feel like are also, I mean, under that we had the Queen of Wands, then we had the World, then we had the Justice card and the Six of Wands. It's like there's some type of victory or recognition or somehow as a result even maybe of some type of karmic reckoning or end of a cycle, or like us choosing to stand in some type of Queen of Wands energy, like our own creative power, or deciding it's the Queen of Wands, like it's a fire energy, but it also does remind me of the Taurus energy in some ways, on some levels, because it's this huge creative impulse. And Taurus is a sign of the builder, where the creative impulse is so strong to build and to create. And this Queen of Wands energy is like, what can I do with my own internal like resources, my own internal fire? What can I, like, how can I have power in the world around me based on this fire that I have lit inside? What can I create with that to feel powerful and to feel, you know, like the queen or like the king in my own kingdom? So what I feel like this is talking about, you know, like if it's not lighting our fire, like if it's not filling us up, if it's not allowing us to feel like we are the leadership era too, the North Node in the sign of Aries is what this is making me think of as well. Like if it's not letting us feel like we're sort of like in charge of our own reality, like the creator of our own creation, like the ruler of our own world at this point in time, I feel like it's also likely to just be going through some major changes, major adjustments. Universe right now generally is trying to put us all back in a power position, because as we go through our 20-year Pluto Aquarius transit that is transitioning us into a greater 2000-year Aquarius age, it is important that we alter like our frequencies in such a way that reflect a process of self-actualization, and that's how we elevate, you know, our frequencies to be a match for the Aquarian energy that's coming in. And I feel like that's really what this is talking about. It's like, it's also like transition and legacies, and just like certain ways that like family lines have been for long periods of time. Like this is definitely like karmic reckoning, cycle breaking energy. It's like any type of like karma, even like family karma, or again, things to do with long-term commitments or long-term investments, or the literal like world that we find ourselves living in as a result of what we've built or what we've grown for long periods of time. Like if it's not like being propelled forward and like created through us coming from a place of creative self-empowerment and personal self-expression and authenticity and truth, and being aligned with like our intuition and our spiritual knowledge as well, you know, with the little black cat here, like that's where our victory comes through right now. And anything that is not like feeding our soul in that way and has become more of a burden than like something that we're proud of or something that makes us feel powerful, yeah, I feel like with the Justice card and the World card as well, this is the cycle that is, you know, coming to an end. And perhaps that is why the foundations are shaking in this Taurus-Uranus season, 7-year period that was just extremely emphasized and highlighted. Uranus takes 7 years to transit a sign, but the transits that we just went through in the month of April and the month of May as well, I do feel like this year, because of the Jupiter conjunction, like this was the climax of the transit of Uranus through the sign of Taurus. And I think that for the rest of the time that Taurus is hosting Uranus, Uranus is in this sign, we are going to see like the outcomes begin to play out based on whatever was sort of pushed to the breaking point that made the lightning strike the tower throughout the course of this period. And then obviously, you know, then Uranus will move into Gemini. And what did I just tell you guys about the transition from the Taurian energy to the Gemini energy? So it's going to be a real interesting next decade or so. Anyways, let's get a synchronicity card now, you guys. God, Spirit, Universe, what is one additional piece of information that can benefit us as we move through this period of time? What should we keep in mind? What do we need to know as we move towards our full moon on Thursday, which again, this is a very interesting energy. Okay, it says, this one says, don't abuse your body. Therefore, glorify God in your body. 1 Corinthians 6:20. And it's making me chuckle a little bit because I'm thinking about how this full moon in Sag, ruled by Jupiter, is going to be a Venus-Jupiter conjunction. Venus-Jupiter conjunctions, while it is one of like the best energies in like all of astrology, it does have a tendency of like overindulging in like all of the good stuff. So this could just be like a little indication maybe to make sure we don't like really overindulge in things that may not actually be good for us as we move through this full moon coming up here. It's wrong to abuse your body. It's one of the holy temples of God. Likewise, austerities, rigidities, and a stiffness have no value in spirit to you. Your body is the nest where God dwells, and you should make it a channel for vitality, wholeness, beauty, and perfection. Forgive yourself for the past and get on with a healthy whole life. So our guidance as we move through this week, you guys, is to do the best that we can for ourselves, make healthy choices and decisions, and maybe not allow ourselves to get too carried away in the context of maybe what we're putting in our body or what we're putting our body through. So that's what I have to say, you guys. Message from the stars, message from the cards. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Share it with your friends if you also think that they would be interested in this type of astrology content. Leave me comments, you guys. I'm so grateful for your presence here. I really appreciate knowing what's going on with you guys out there. If you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. If you want to know what's on this here whiteboard, I do have a Facebook group where I post pictures of it. You can find that also linked in my description box below. And come back with me on Wednesday, you guys. We will have our full moon video for Sag, which I've been talking about several times. That's gonna be a big one with the emphasis all on Jupiter. And then on Friday, we will have our video for the weekend and talk about Jupiter moving into Gemini. So we got a slam-packed week of videos, you guys, energy playing out. I will be here to talk about it. You should be here too. You don't want to miss it. I will see you next time. Have a really beautiful start to your week, everybody. And until next time, bye guys.